Hey everyone, so this video is going to be unedited because we're having a discussion over on the Discord about the best way to turn on a light with the player and how we can approach that. So it's more of a beginner's guide to blueprints, this one, and how we can set up a collision box to turn on a light using a blueprint interface. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new folder. We're going to just call this blueprints. Then in here, we're going to create two different actors. So we've got a blueprint class, which is our actors. This is an actor as a container to store logic and different elements, static meshes, lights, that kind of thing. And we're just going to have an actor, and this is going to call BP underscore overlap box. And then we're going to have another one, which is going to be blueprint class actor BP underscore light. So our overlap box is going to do exactly what it says. It's going to detect when we walk through it. And to do that, we can go to components and we can add, which is going to do a box collision. So anything in the components list is going to appear inside of our blueprint, and it means it's all contained so we can use it where we want and reference it in our event graph. We don't have to get into this too much. It's just going to be a very basic breakdown. But our box collision is essentially going to detect our player and our projectile and say when we overlap it, we're going to do something. And super easy to do. We're going to scroll down on the right hand side, and just behind my head, we'll see that we have an option here for on component begin overlap. So when we walk through this box, it already looks for the player, and it's going to detect if we're overlapping it. So we're going to click this, and you see that we get this node here. Delete the other stuff, and it says as it is on component begin overlap. So when we overlap this box, we're going to do something. In this case, for now, we're just going to do a print string. So if we drag this box into the level, you can see that we've got it. And I'm going to scale it up so it covers this little gap in the center of our level. Now, if we press play, what we can do is we can walk through this, and you can see in the top left here that we actually say hello. So it's detecting our player's overlap every time we go through it, and we can actually detect what we do. However, if we pick up our gun and we try shooting through it, you'll see that we don't actually go through it. This is due to the actual collision of our first-person projectile, but we can change this in the box itself. So every box has collision, which is listened to, and then we can actually change this. So on the right, we have collision presets. We're just going to set this to custom for now. And you can see here that right now our projectile that's coming out of our gun is currently set to block. So we're just going to change this to overlap. I think this might be an error with the template. But we just hit compile, and now if we jump back in, you can see that we can go up to it, and we can shoot through the box, and we also get our hello. This is important later on because I'm going to show you how we can stop it from detecting the projectile again, but also let the projectile go through. So now we need to have our light. So if we open up our light blueprint that we created, we're simply just going to add a light. And we'll do a point light. We'll keep its default settings as it is, so bright white. And we'll drag this in, and we can place it on the wall. A little bit better. And then when we go up to it, we can cross over and nothing happens. This is because our overlap collision isn't actually talking to our light bulb. So to do that, there's a couple of ways. You could cast to it, which would lock down what you can actually do with that blueprint. So it would only make this one collision only be able to talk to this one specific light. So if we duplicated it, we would need another collision box to then talk to this light. It kind of defeats the purpose of having reusable code. So what we're going to do is we're just going to create a blueprint interface. So blueprint interface, BPI underscore collision. We'll just call it collision for now. Super simple. If we open this up, and then we name this as light off or on off. That's all we need to do. So now we have this interface. We need to add it to our blueprints. So there's nothing special that we have to do. We just got to go to our light. And then in here, we can say class defaults, class settings, sorry. And then you see here we've got interfaces. All we have to do is add that interface in, so BPI collision, and it turns up for us. So when it comes to using interfaces, you have events. So we can actually search for event turn light on off. So event turn light on off. And now we can do a flip flop to say, okay, we're going to set the visibility of this light to on or off. Super simple. So we drag this in and we've got our point light. So set visibility. And we've got the option to turn it on or off. So we're going to duplicate this node like so, flip flop A, and then flip flop B. Make sure our target is still the point light. So we need a reference to our light in the scene to be able to set it to on or off. And when we fire this, it's going to do the first action and then followed by the second when it fires again. So when we overlap the box once, it's going to turn the light off. So set visibility. And then when we overlap it the second time, it's going to turn the light off. On. It's going to turn it on. So event turn light off, fires once, set visibility, fires again, set visibility to on. By default, the point light is already on, so we can see here that's set to visible true. So we need to keep that in mind. And now we can just tell the overlapping box to talk to this specific blueprint. So to do that, all we have to do is delete our print string and drag off from our event and search for collision or turn light on off message. So we've got this blueprint of our overlap box. We are sending a message to a very specific actor, which we'll set up. That's going to be our target. And then it will just basically fire that code that is inside of the turn light on off. So what we need to do is we just need to promote to a variable on the target. And this is going to be our light. And we can make this public. So there's a little eyeball here, and this makes it visible. So if we drag our overlap box into the scene and we select it, you can see here on the right now, we can actually access this light from here. It's currently set to an object, which is wrong. We don't want it to be an object. We want it to be a specific actor because that is what we've created. So to do that, we just go to our object and search for actor, select actor, and then object reference change variable. And now we compile and we go back to our scene. You can see that that reference has actually changed to a dropdown, which only consists of the content that's in our level. So in our main level, and then I can actually select stuff from it. So I can use the light dropper here to select the light bulb. And now what's going to happen is when I overlap this box, it's going to tell this light bulb to turn on or off. So it's going to fire a message, says on overlap, turn light on off. And then in the light bulb, we turn light on off, and then we go through. So the blueprint interface acts like a little middleman. So when we go over it, you see the light turns off and then turns back on. And we can also do this with a gun. So we can shoot through and we can turn that light on and off. However, as I said, we'll do this where you actually can't turn it on with the gun. So what we'll do is we'll just go to our box overlap. And you see all other actors. We drag this off and do an equals. And then we can search for our player controller. I believe it's player controller is what our player is actually loaded in as. Let me double check because it's been a while since I've been inside of the first person blueprint. So character, so here in the top right it says character. So we're just going to go back to our overlap box and we're going to search px player character. So if our player character is true, we can do a branch node and then we say turn light off. If the overlapping actor is not a character, it's not going to do anything. So now, if I press play, and we pick up our gun, I can shoot, it's not going to do anything, but when I walk over it, it turns the light on or off. So this is a way to be able to send that message and then increase it where we want. So I could do another box. So now, I can duplicate these, I can move it around, and say we've got the light bulb, make another one over here, and then I can just point this collision at that light, essentially. So now, when I go through it, this light will turn this collision will turn that light off and on, and then this one will do this. and it won't actually let us shoot through it or use other blueprints to cross that line. So the reason for making this video is a lot of people or beginners use cast nodes. So they create an overlap box which checks the other actor and casts to the player. When it's entirely unnecessary to do so, we can just check to see if it's the player. If it is, then we turn the light on or off. And we also don't need to cast to a specific thing. So by having it use an interface, we can create other blueprints to listen to this. If we go back to our blueprints folder, we'll create a new blueprint class. This could be active BP underscore cube. Then what I could do in here is create a component, which is a static mesh. And then create a cube. Now if we zoom out, we can see that cube. And we can do the exact same thing that we did with our light. So we can go to class settings, add interface, which is or collision. I can play, or actually we'll do event, so event, kind of like on off. And we can do the exact same thing, so flip flop, drag in the static mesh, set visibility. By default, it's visible, so we're going to turn that off. And then when we cross over a second time, we're going to turn that back on. Plug that in like so. And now I can drag this cube in. And what it lets us do is, although I can only point this collision to one actor at a time, I can reuse this collision to trigger anything I want. So now instead of the light, I point it at the cube. And then when I cross over it, what happens is the cube disappears and then comes back. And then this one controls the light. So by using an interface, we're actually extending the capabilities of the blueprint and how we can reuse it in different places. But also, we're not restricting ourselves to what we can kind of do with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that there because it's probably already gone over time. I'm not going to edit this video. I'm just going to upload it straight away. But if anybody wants other beginner tutorials like this, then let me know. I can always do another series and kind of cover those elements for different things of Unreal. Cool. All right. I'll see you later on. Bye.